Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Wicked Hot. This is John.
And Kevin.
And this week, guys, we posted on the Instagram, as always, with a sneak peek of what our topic would be. Kevin, what did we post? Did anyone get it?
Yes, your brother actually got it. So we posted a picture of Topher Grace in the cinematic classic Spider-Man 3.
Yes, one of Raimi's best movies ever. This week, guys, we're actually really excited because we are covering Venom. Obviously, Venom is coming out in October of 2018, and for future people, this happened in 2018.
Yeah. Hey, this episode will still apply to you, even if the movie is already out.
It does, because I'm sure Sony will probably reboot their franchise in probably a year and a half, and there'll be a new Venom movie. But yeah, guys, this is our first for Wicked Hot. We are doing a character profile on Venom from the Spider-Man comic. For the format going forward, Kevin and I will be kind of going over the history, concept creation of the character, and discussing all the mediums, animation, video games, movies that Venom has appeared in, as well as our kind of thoughts on the new movie featuring Tom Hardy. So grab onto your black goo and let's get into it in this week's episode of Wicked Hot Movie Mayhem.
Wicked smart, wicked cool, wicked fucking stupid, whatever the fuck. Something wicked.
I'm baking like a toasted teaser. It's so hot here.
My boy's wicked smart.
Cause the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So, you want to know about Venom. So, the character's concept wasn't a character at all, but rather a new costume idea. It's an urban legend that Marvel wasn't the ones who came up with the costume idea, actually, and instead was a suggestion that a reader wrote into Marvel. According to the website Comic Book Resource, the fan who wrote in posted a blog about how during the early 80s, Marvel had run a competition for aspiring writers and artists. And this isn't all far-fetched. Recently, at Fan Expo in Boston, they had freelance artists come to a Marvel table to showcase their work. They do this pretty often, where they'll...
It's like a resume thing?
Kind of. It's more of like up and coming, like, oh, see what you have, what it takes to be a Marvel artist.
So they do the art, and then whoever's at the booth like judges it, or what?
They kind of like sift through it. I guess it's like an impromptu interview, and if it's good enough, maybe they'll be like, oh, you know, you have a future in this, kid. Give me a call. Here's my card.
Yeah, I get it.
But this, honestly, it reminds me of like in Spider-Man, like the wrestling competition to win like $5,000.
Yeah.
And this is what
against
this is.
Bonesaw.
What's his real name? Macho Man.
Randy Savage. Yeah. We should have remembered that because of that Skyrim mod. It turns the dragons into Macho Man Randy Savage.
Macho Man's coming. Side note, I think it's so funny when the beginning of Skyrim, you know how it's like a whole like dramatic thing. What's that noise?
Ooh, yeah! What in oblivion is that?
Sentries, what do you see?
Bonesaw is ready. Okay. The credit of Venom is partly due to perfect transition, Randy Schuler, who thought it would be awesome if Spider-Man had an upgrade to his powers and look. So, again, we have this contest. He wanted to come up with a new look, new powers, blah, 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 upgrade him up. And he wrote in. So, in Randy's concept, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four designs a new suit for Spider-Man with a stealth concept, hence it being black.
It's funny that like everything black is like now stealth.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like
instead of camo.
Every comic book, every TV show, it's like, oh, you have the regular red version, but there is this new black stealth version. It's like, why didn't you fucking think of that before? I'm running around in a fucking red and blue suit, and you had a black suit the whole time? I mainly work at night.
At least Batman has a black suit. Imagine if Batman's like, I'm gonna work in the forest now, and he's just got like real tree camo. So yeah, that suit featured a red emblem over a white one. If you know what the costume looks like, it is black with a white kind of spider-looking emblem. So once Randy submitted the concept and story to Marvel, he received a letter from Jim Shooter. For people who don't know who Jim Shooter is, he was the editor-in-chief at Marvel at the time. Really big. He actually like published a lot of good and controversial things at Marvel.
Controversial how?
Just in the way that he took characters' directions.
Oh, okay.
Right. And not like Spider-Man was like fucking someone or something, like so Jim Shooter, he loved the idea and they wanted to buy it from him for $220. So that's $600 in 2018 from the 1980s. So if you think about it, Randy got shafted big time.
If I were Randy, I would have been like, no, you can keep the money. I just want like 0.5% of all of the Venom sales.
Oh, well, see, it wasn't even Venom yet. It was just like Spider-Man with a black suit.
Oh, Black Spider-Man, basically.
Right. Well, not Black Spider-Man, because that's Miles Morales.
Oh, true.
Black suited
Spider-Man, yes.
The cool thing about the whole story with Randy is that Marvel Comics gave him a chance to write the story of how Spider-Man acquires the black costume, which I think is fucking awesome. He spoke with writer Tom DeFalco, who's truly credited for the story that Kevin will go into next. But unfortunately, his story plans weren't as good. So clearly he's an idea man, which I can appreciate because I myself am an idea man. But when it comes to actual like plans, I'm just like, no. I'm the idea guy. It's to spur creativity amongst everyone else.
Yeah, are you one of those guys that has an invention for stuff, but you have like no clue how to make the invention? I feel like everybody has an uncle that's like that.
Yeah, like the toilet bowl light, and it's like, God damn it, that's my idea.
Yeah, I fucking thought about that. Yeah, 20 years ago. God damn it.
But yeah, so his story plans weren't that great, and he just kind of stopped writing into Marvel with ideas because everything he would send them, they'd say no, like we don't like that, or do this or whatever. So I guess it just kind of got tiring for him. He wasn't really expecting to get into actually working and writing. It was more a suggestion. He's like, oh, this is kind of cool, but I actually have to do work. Like, fuck this shit.
Yeah, he's like, I already came up with Black Suit Spider-Man. I got to write the fucking thing now.
Hey, you know what? I never actually saw whether or not when he was going to write the story for it, if they were going to buy the story from him or if they're paying him like hourly for like coming up with different things. Because if you're just doing this for free, like fuck out of here, Marvel.
For $220.
Yeah. I mean, I understand they're not like a huge, well, they are. But back then, for just printing comics, I doubt they were like, like had a shit ton of cash,
I'm just like picturing a phone call from Marvel to this guy where they're like, we gave you $220, we fucking own your ass. And he's like, I'll take your $220 back. I don't want to write Black Suit Spider-Man.
They're like, it's funny because they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Now come up with the thing because we ran out of Spider-Man ideas. We don't know what to do anymore. But Marvel's editor-in-chief, Jim Shooter, also explained how, this is kind of where it gets a little weird because it's like, I've got two conflicting stories on either end. Jim Shooter explained how the black costume idea was influenced by an already new character that was a concept, which was Spider-Woman, and she wears a black and white suit. I mean, it's basically, if you look at the costume, it's the same thing as Venom's costume, only as a female, and no crazy alien monster head.
Okay,
but
no big eyes.
So Jim Shooter's kind of like flipping. He's like, no, like we actually had that idea. We just paid this guy for having the same one. Like, no, I guess it just happened to be maybe a coincidence. I'm not sure exactly, but when you think of Venom, you think of his most synonymous host, which is Eddie Brock. The interesting thing about Eddie Brock is that there seems to be a bit of controversy as to who actually created the character. So writer David Michelini and Todd McFarlane are credited as co-creators of Eddie Brock / Venom.
The McFarlane action figure guy?
Correct.
Spawn guy?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So David Michelinie said there was only one person who actually created Venom, and that was him.
Of course.
And yeah. And it's crazy to me how convoluted the creation of Venom is, because if you think about it, yeah, David Michelinie may have created the Eddie Brock character, but the suit and other aspects of what makes Venom were created by other artists.
So Eddie Brock was created to be Venom? Like that's
Eddie
why he was
Brock-
added to the comic?
So according to what David Michelinie said, he had written a story called like Original Sin or something like that. Not the Antonio Banderas. What the hell is her name? Angelina Jolie movie.
Oh.
Isn't that what that movie was called? Original Sin? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
It was like a sex movie.
Yeah, it's like a Skinamax.
But no, nothing like that. So David Michelinie, he actually wrote it, and I think he had the idea of, because in it there's what could maybe appear as Venom, like something like some bad shit happening, but you don't know what it is. So I think he did have the idea of it, but just because he had Eddie Brock, like, I don't know. I feel like there may have been more parts to that. Granted, he wrote the story, but I'll get into this now, but
there's got to be more to the story than just I made it, that's it. Like there had to have been other ideas and things thrown around about the character.
But this kind of goes into Venom is a huge character, but I mean, if I'm thinking specifically, this happened the exact same thing for Batman. So for most people that don't know, the creator of Batman is Bob Kane. I mean, if you're not into comics, that's just who it is, Bob Kane. And they also sometimes credit a man called Bill Finger. Bob Kane, yes, did come up with the idea of a Batman, but he was literally like a man bat, which ironically is also a Batman villain.
Man bat?
But he was like, man bat.
So original.
Yeah, but yeah, he was like an actual creature bat, and Bill Finger was like, no, that's fucking stupid, and then he kind of like threw in the other ideas, and then Bob Kane's just like, okay, that's Batman, and now I actually created the character. You just kind of gave me some pointers,
Little direction. Yeah.
right? Which is kind of what happened here. So, Todd McFarlane, the most famous artist for Venom, and I'm going to say he's co-creator, did in fact credit David Michelinie with creating Venom and the design of the character, which he says was basically having a guy in a black costume. So McFarlane says that he specifically gave Venom all his monstrous traits. So the teeth, the eyes, everything about him. Not the tongue though. So this is something I had no idea about, but the artist that took over for Todd McFarlane's run of drawing Venom, artist Eric Larson, he's actually credited as being the one to add the long tongue and drool that is synonymous with how you recognize Venom today.
Yeah, that's like the most visually telling thing about Venom is the tongue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the teeth.
And the longest time I thought it was Todd McFarlane. Had no idea.
Wow. I wonder what his Venoms look like, because I can't even picture a Venom without the tongue. Oh, you got a comic with it?
I do have a comic with it. He's basically just got like he actually kind of looks like Spawn a little bit.
Yeah, he does. Wow.
He's just kind of got like a normal
mouth, but a bunch of jagged teeth.
Jaggedy teeth, yeah. And for people that couldn't see that, because obviously you can't, this is an audio version podcast. Look up Amazing Spider-Man issue number 316. You can find out what he actually looked like.
Okay, so I want to get this straight first. I want to have a discussion on how you say the word. Is it symbiote or symbiote?
I also hear symbiote.
Oh, wow. That's pretentious.
So, yeah. I think it doesn't really matter I think most people will know what you're trying to say.
Okay.
or not know what you're trying to say for either of them. So
I've
it's
said
kind of a
it-
win-win.
Yeah, I've said and heard both types of the word.
I say symbiote, so that's usually what I say.
Okay. I usually say symbiote too. Sometimes symbiote slips out of my mouth somehow.
Symbiote.
So, as somebody who doesn't read comics or anything like that, I've only ever watched the cartoon, which I watched pretty religiously. And I never knew what the word symbiote meant. So I literally went to look up the word symbiote in the dictionary.
Wait, it's not a made-up word?
Symbiote is, but there is a word close to it, symbiotic.
Okay.
It's a distinction made between two interacting organisms.
Okay.
And the symbiote or the symbiote is the smaller of the two and is always beneficiary in relationship, while the larger organism is the host and may or may not derive a benefit.
So Eddie Brock.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
The exact same thing.
exactly what Venom is like a parasite that feeds off of the host.
So, right.
So now that we know that, I can get into the actual history of the symbiote alien.
Sweet.
So I'm going to specifically go over Venom. There are a lot more like Carnage and Toxin. So Venom is actually an ancient sentient alien with a liquid form that requires a bond to a host for survival. He's the 998 generation of symbiotes. But I couldn't, from anything that I read, I couldn't find like how long a generation was.
Oh, like how long the
It's like a lifespan. It doesn't specifically say like how many years it is, but it's like a lifespan of a symbiote.
So we don't know how long it
Yeah.
spans life.
Yeah. Well, assuming, well, I'll get into it later, but it does kind of tell you how old Venom is, and it's really fucking old. So if he's the 998th, like it goes back way before
Millions?
time. Yeah, like way before the universe was even created. The symbiotes create a bond with the host through which a single entity is created. And I wanted to specifically say that because in the cartoon and more recently in the trailer for Venom, he says, "We are Venom." So the symbiote basically makes or thinks that it's one entity, even though he's like feeding off of the host. It's technically two entities, but he
They basically
views
bond DNA like on a. Do they bond DNA like on a cellular level? I mean,
yes,
okay.
yeah, they bond to. Actually, no, they don't. They bond to cells,
Okay.
not molecular. I don't even know. I might be talking out of my ass.
Kevin's like beaker Bunsen burner. Periodic table. Marissa will get a kick out of this because she's actually a real scientist.
Yeah, she should text me and tell me how bad I fucked up. The symbiotes also slightly alter their host's personality by basically influencing and bringing out their darkest desires.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of the backstory before, like, because in the cartoon, Venom is just there. It doesn't really explain the backstory to it.
No. I mean, I know it briefly touches on it in an episode, but yeah, it doesn't. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't say like
You would have
I bring
definitely
out
had
Eddie Brock's deepest, darkest desires.
Yeah. So as it comes out later, the symbiotes actually are called the Clintar, which is actually the planet they're from.
Yes, yeah, that's the species. Yes.
So the first symbiote appearance in a Spider-Man comic is Amazing Spider-Man 252, in which basically Spider-Man brings the symbiote to Earth after the Secret Wars.
Yeah, it was actually Black Suit Spider-Man was the first time it bonded to him, which I think was Secret Wars number 8.
Yeah, 8. This is where it gets really fucking crazy. Okay. So eventually it's revealed in future issues that the Clintar, aka the symbiotes, were created by an ancient, malevolent, primordial deity. God damn it, it's a fucking mouthful. Named Null.
Yeah. So this just happened in the comic run, and Donny Cates, who's a fucking fantastic writer, created this, and that so it's Venom issue number 168, but it's actually number 3 of the new run.
Okay. Yeah, the backstory is crazy, and it connects to a lot of other Marvel franchises. So I'll get into that. So basically, how the symbiote... I almost did it. So basically, how the symbiote was created, the Celestials began their plan to evolve the universe. This was before the universe even existed.
Yeah.
And Null retaliated by constructing from his own shadow a sword made of living darkness. And this is like the precursor to the symbiote.
Okay.
Or it was like the very first, it was like 1.0.
So he came from like a sword, is what you're telling me.
Yes. Yeah.
A shadow sword.
Yep. So he fought the Celestials, and they fought back, and Null actually severed one of the Celestials' head, which I didn't know this became the planet Nowhere. Or the
Fuck, I did not. I actually haven't read these issues yet, so this is like news to me. Spoilers, motherfucker.
Sorry. So if you're familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy or Infinity War, you know what Nowhere is.
Yeah, it's the giant head where everyone lives in.
Yep.
That's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
That's blow my dick off type shit.
So after this, Null manifests a symbiotic suit of armor. And that's basically the very first Venom, or symbiote, not before precursor to Venom.
So the god, the like symbiote god in this instance, he's actually not like Venom at all. Like he's not actually like a symbiote himself.
No, not really. The Celestials are like gods in themselves, and the
So
symbiote.
Null is a celestial.
Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
Right. So okay.
He's one that wants like total domination, like every Marvel villain, he wants to rule the universe. So Null is badly wounded during combat during the Celestial War, and he crash lands on a desolate planet where the symbiote sword was found by a indigenous person, Gore.
Okay.
So despite the setback of losing his symbiote sword, Null creates an army of symbiotes, and they're basically used to conquer planets and devour entire civilizations for his rule or whatever.
Oh shit. Okay.
I don't understand, but he's trying to kill everybody, but he also wants to rule them too.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
I don't know how that works.
What are you ruling over? Like once they're done, like what do you do?
Yeah. So Null's connection to the symbiotes was severed when a dragon-like symbiote named Grendel under Null's. I sound like I'm talking about like a Lord of the Rings thing or something.
Yeah, well, I was actually thinking Grundle when you said that. So.
Okay. Grendel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but yes, I know this dragon.
Yeah. So he
it's pretty cool.
Null ends up losing control of Grendel, which is like the connection to the symbiotes. So after Null is defeated, the symbiotes are basically like on their own. They don't have like a hive mind controlling them anymore.
Okay, cool.
After the symbiotes' connection was severed, they actually rebelled against their god, Null, and took him to the planet Clintar, which is actually what they're called. So they're
right
Clintar from the planet Clintar, which is
that's kind of
it's funny because
Klingon, right?
Yeah, Clintar is their word for cage. So
interesting.
It kind of makes sense.
It does,
because Venom is like a cage for Eddie Brock.
Right.
Fast forward hundreds and hundreds of years, and the symbiotes are more advanced, and they're ashamed of their past, like taking over and killing people. So basically their whole existence now is to maintain peace throughout the cosmos by seeking other worthy hosts to basically feed off of. So they're trying to do good, but they're also inhabiting these hosts and using them up until they're dead and then moving on to another host. So it's like a catch-22 for them because they're trying to help, but they're also trying to live as well.
Right. It's in their best interest. They're like, well, if we're going to be parasites, we kind of have to leech off of
Right.
good people, but we're doing good things. But
Yeah, it's like the price of business.
Right.
So this is actually where Venom comes in. He didn't think the same way as the other symbiotes. So the other symbiotes wanted to use a host as long as they could and then move on. Venom's main goal or main existence was to bond with the host and live together or live as one.
I see. Okay.
And he was cast out because of this and banished from Clintar. And
oh shit. Okay.
that's kind of how he's kind of out there when Spider-Man is doing the Secret Wars. With the backstory of Venom, you kind of have to talk about the Sim Soldier program. So that basically, you remember that alien Grendel? We were talking about Grendel.
Yeah, the dragon.
Yes, the dragon. They eventually find his body. S.H.I.E.L.D. finds his body during the Vietnam War, and they use its biomass to bond with a group of wounded soldiers.
Yeah,
to create.
Okay, I do remember this.
To create symbiote super soldiers.
This is in the Venom series. Nice little pun.
Nice. So they're basically super soldiers that went on Black Ops missions
with symbiotes bonded to them. It was like a super. Yes. It was like the SEAL Team 6 of Venoms.
Yeah, they were basically like a bunch of mini Venoms, or like Venom lights. But
discount Venom.
Yeah, dollar store Venom. Yeah. So in finding Grendel, S.H.I.E.L.D. actually awoken Null, and he became connected back to the symbiotes. One of the team members, Rex Strickland, eventually left and became a S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent. Yeah. And pretty much all the other ones eventually died from the symbiote control. And
yes, I do remember this in the issues.
Yes,
he actually recruits Eddie Brock to help him out.
Yep. The ones that didn't die were going insane, so they did what Marvel loves to do. They put them in a cryo chamber, froze them up.
Yeah, frozen chamber. God damn it. Every time with the fucking... I swear to God, cryo sleep is their favorite thing in comic books.
I know. Yeah, they love it.
Because it's the discount. It's like discount dead. It's they're dead.
Yeah.
But we're really just putting them in a storage unit until we need them again.
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin gave this history of the actual symbiote alien Venom. I'm going to talk about the momentous occasion and bonding between man and alien with Eddie Brock.
That sounds like some Avatar shit.
It does. But before I get into that, we need to explore why Eddie Brock hated Spider-Man prior to being infected by Venom. So long story short, he wrote an article about the identity of a serial killer, only to have identified the wrong man, because Spider-Man caught and revealed the true killer.
That's a big fuck up.
Yeah, so this disgraced him, ruined his career, and he blames Spider-Man for his own shoddy journalism, which he's like, damn it, he found the right one, that motherfucker. But it ruined more than his career. He was fired, his father disowned him, and his wife divorced him. So not a good time to be Eddie Brock.
Didn't he get cancer too?
He does get cancer later on, but that's way after.
Damn, this guy is on the fucking downslope.
I also love that he starts an intense workout regimen once this happens, though.
That's picking yourself up.
That's true. Yeah, he's like, I got to get back to dating. I'm getting juiced up.
Got to get jacked.
So after all this happens, Eddie Brock goes to a church where Spider-Man sheds the symbiote off of him. So at this point, Spider-Man has the actual Venom symbiote. It's his suit. Kevin and I kind of went over. And at this point, it's kind of altering his behavior, how he acts. He's not very good. He's kind of teetering on the line of good versus anti-hero, or even bad, honestly.
Right.
So he realizes the issue and he sheds the symbiote off and he rips it off him. The church bell kind of it irritates the sonic, like the noise itself irritates the actual Venom creature.
Yeah. So the
So-
symbiotes are like their kryptonite is like loud sounds.
Loud sound and fire is their kryptonite.
Okay.
So it sheds off of him, but Spider-Man and Eddie Brock were in the same location. It could sense Eddie Brock's emotions of anger and hate. Basically, the symbiote alien leans towards the path of the dark side. I wonder if he deals in absolutes, though. Do you think he deals in absolutes?
He does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, because it's like I don't bond with this guy. I do bond with this guy. That's an absolute.
Yes,
That's a Sith Lord.
absolutely. Absolutely, it's an absolute.
That's an absolute. So because of the fact that the symbiote was bonded to Spider-Man previously, Barack was able to learn a lot about Spider-Man, including his secret identity. Immediately when he gets the symbiote, he knows Peter Parker, Spider-Man. So this is kind of where it gets weird, because all this kind of seems cool, right? Venom's first attacks were kind of bitch moves that didn't require a superpowered suit at all. Venom.
What did he do?
tried-
Just like stick out his foot and try to trip him dead or something? Or
So he actually pushes Peter Parker as Peter Parker, not Spider-Man, in front of a train. Like while he's waiting for the subway.
so
He's just, like,
basically
pushed
stuck
him.
his foot out and tried to trip him.
Exactly. And then he also grabbed him and threw him off a building while he was climbing it as Spider-Man.
Oh.
Like those were his like big schemes. It was just like, I will push him in front of a train. I will grab his arm while he's crawling.
I'll throw him off a building that he always like knows how to get back on.
Swings from.
Yeah.
Next he was going to be like, I will throw this banana peel. But yeah, so during like his first early iterations, he seemed more of a, well, actually this is before he even appears. He seemed more of a prankster until he finally attempts to harm Mary Jane, which at this time is Peter Parker's wife. Except Eddie Brock can't actually hurt her because he just kind of has a conflicted sense of morality. So Spider-Man defeats him multiple times. Venom is in prison multiple times. And long story short, his reign as a villain is basically done at this moment.
That's it?
Yeah. So
What a
right
bitch.
yeah. So Spider-Man did try and trick the Venom symbiote to rebond with him. And this is kind of how he defeated him. Because the symbiote still has a fascination with Spider-Man's power. Because keep in mind, Eddie Brock is just a normal human being.
Right.
Spider-Man is a superpowered being.
Right. And like
So-
like I talked about, it like enhances the abilities of whoever it
Right. So he's
Oh.
going to really enhance Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah.
He's
So
probably
it's,
like, look at me. Do you find me sexy? So he kind of like tricks the symbiote. It attempts to detach itself from Brock, but at this point it can't because they had already bonded completely. They were one, and it would kill them both in the process. So interestingly enough, Venom actually appears in issue 300 of Spider-Man. He basically dies during the events of Amazing Spider-Man 332 and 333. So he's still a villain at this time. Venom lures Spidey into a trap. Spider-Man is attacked by two villains, which have the lamest names, Styx and Stone.
wow.
But like Styx, like the river Styx, if you've ever read mythology, it's STYX.
Yeah, like the band.
Yeah, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah.
In case people don't know, that's the band. But yeah, Sticks and Stones attack. Venom's infuriated because he wants to be the one to kill Spider-Man himself. And Sticks has the ability to infect someone with the plague. That's his power. And in an effort to save Eddie Brock, Venom allows itself to die and get basically infected by that Sticks guy. Or so we thought. So at this point, Venom symbiote is presumed dead. Eddie Brock is in jail, and he shares a cell with none other than Cletus Cassidy. For people that don't know who Cletus Cassidy is, he becomes the red symbiote Carnage. While they're in jail, it basically comes to the realization that the Venom symbiote actually can't really be killed by anything on Earth. including an earthly plague, which is exactly what the character Styx had afflicted him with.
Oh, I
He
see.
basically needed to go into, you guessed it, hibernation to heal himself. So Venom eventually comes back. He goes back to save Eddie Brock at Rikers Island and gets him out of jail, leaves some of his ectoplasm behind, which eventually bonds to Cletus Cassidy and makes him the Carnage symbiote.
When you say ectoplasm, that just makes me think of South Park.
South I kept that in there because of that. Oh, it's a ghost ectoplasm. Ooh. We're going out California way. I want to jump into what I suspect could possibly be the plot of the new Venom movie, which is potential spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, which at this point is everyone. Sony may use the plot of Venom Lethal Protector. And this is kind of what happens after this whole thing where Venom escapes from Rikers Island. And he fights Spider-Man a bunch still. But then there's a point where Spider-Man and Venom make a truce. And that involves Venom leaving New York for good and returning to his native San Francisco, which happens to be where the movie is taking place, in San Francisco, which is Eddie Brock's hometown. In this story, Venom is an anti-hero, and Venom Lethal Protector. He's an anti-hero. He's captured by the Life Foundation, which is in the commercial.
Okay.
Which is headed by a man called Carlton Drake, which is played by Riz Ahmed in the movie. And he just so happens to want to experiment with human bonding of symbiotes. Does that sound familiar?
That sounds exactly like the entire trailer of Venom.
He forcibly makes, this is the only different thing. He forcibly makes Venom spawn 5 more symbiotes. Most famously Scream, followed by Riot, Agony, Phage, and Lasher. So from here on out, Venom and Spider-Man team up a lot to fight the true evil symbiote of the Spider-Man series, Carnage. And that's kind of the comprehensive history of how Venom became. It's kind of crazy because for me watching the show, I always saw Venom as the villain.
Right.
And it seems that for the good part of his existence, he's basically been an anti-hero, which I thought that was just a more recent acquisition of a title.
Yeah, that's weird. Like when I heard they were going to make a Venom movie, I only know Venom as a villain. And we all know from Suicide Squad, villain-led movies do not do well.
They do not.
So, yeah, I was like, what the fuck? But apparently he's like a anti-hero. I mean, if you want to call him an anti-hero, yeah. He
seems more of just like a hero, honestly.
That's what I'm saying, is like in the movie, he seems like a darker version of Spider-Man.
Right.
Which is not, it doesn't seem like that's the
anti-hero.
case in the beginning of the comics and the source, but like the backstory,
right.
The symbiote backstory.
And I know this is kind of a transition for you, but I'm thinking specifically, I mean, even though it wasn't a good movie, Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3, had I think it's just weird that we're jumping into Venom as an anti-hero with, I mean, I don't need the origin with him ripping off the suit and it infecting him or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still need to kind of see him as a villain because, I mean, are they going to just do the opposite, start with anti-hero and villain? And, I mean, I guess we could just talk about Spider-Man 3 and, like, how he's portrayed in that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's do that because that the movie way that Venom is portrayed is actually pretty good. It's not, I mean, it's kind of on point with how the source material is. Not Eddie Brock, though, because they were way off. They were way off when they cast Topher Grace.
They were.
I'm going to say that Topher Grace is the worst comic book casting ever. Can you name a worst casting in a comic book movie?
In a comic book movie? in a legit comic book movie?
Yes. Because this is somebody that's supposed to be like pretty big, buff, suave, narcissistic. That's not Topher Grace.
No.
They try to do that in the movie. I don't know if you noticed, but they gave him frosted tips.
They did give him frosted tips. He does look like a true douchebag.
Yeah.
But they gave him frosted tips, and the movie came out in like 2007 or 2008.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like he looked like a douchebag, like, oh, what a 90s douchebag. He just looked like an asshole for having frosted tips in like the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they wrote the script in 1996 and then kept all that shit in there.
Yeah, his whole demeanor. If people haven't seen the movie, there's a specific scene, and this parallels with the comic itself. Is when Eddie Brock goes to the church where Spider-Man is,
right?
And he's kind of like he got fired. His life kind of fucking sucks right now. His girlfriend broke up with him, and he's just like he's praying. He's like, God, I just need you to do one thing. And you'd be like, oh, like he wants, help me with my new,
new job,
a new job or anything. He's like, I want you to kill Peter Parker. And then it just is so like his whole thing just seems so disingenuous. Like he read a line, and there's zero emotion or weight behind it.
Yeah,
he's just saying words.
It's like he doesn't even believe it.
No, he doesn't.
No, I'm not talking about Topher Grace. I'm talking about Eddie Brock. Like Eddie Brock's like,
actually, that was kind of a shitty thing to say.
Like the guy in the movie doesn't even believe what he's talking about. Like, how is anybody else?
Right, and it's kind of weird because it's so miscast. From, I mean, even like the whole his whole being, like, I mean, they have the motivation there on paper, but just emotionally, he's just he doesn't seem like that. Like down in the dumps.
Yeah. Whereas the story that you told about him, his wife divorcing him, eventually gets cancer.
Him,
yeah, like that sounds like I feel sorry for that guy. Topher Grace in Spider-Man 3, it's like, oh, you lost your job. That fucking sucks. But
and he's like he's supposed to play like a 21-year-old.
Yeah,
and he was a photographer. Like, oh. Well, that's what you get for being a fucking photographer. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, who as a photographer has not been fired from a job? And like, whose girlfriend hasn't broken up with them? Like in the movie, it's like just his girlfriend. In the comic, at least it's his wife.
Right, like that's a whole thing. Getting divorced, having to like split property and shit like that. Like that's
no, it's like she just got to pick up her toothbrush or something.
Yeah, they weren't even living together.
No,
in the movie.
No.
So he's like, oh.
One thing I will say about the movie, and I didn't realize how accurate it was until I was doing this whole thing, was how closely Sam Raimi stuck to the origin or how Eddie Brock gets the Venom suit.
Yeah.
Because that's actually taken right out of the comic book. Like Spider-Man's in the bell tower trying to get the suit off.
Yeah.
And I think
it's taken like right from the panels too. Like the panels are basically like those shots.
Yeah, like when he's pulling it off, like I saw the side by side and it looks exactly the same. But one thing they left out, and I was kind of disappointed after I read all this, was in the comics, Venom has like some sort of like sick affinity for Spider-Man. Whereas even after Spider-Man rips Venom off in the bell tower, he still saves Spider-Man as he's like with his last dying breath. When Spider-Man passes out after ripping off Venom actually saves Spider-Man and then goes to Eddie Brock. So it's kind of that's something that he left out that after reading it, I wish he would have thrown in there, because it would have been nothing to throw that in there.
Right. And not even that, but at least it would have given some sort of like more of a humanity to the creature.
Yeah.
Because the minute he rips that suit off, it's just like, okay, evil bad guy that's just Venom slapped with a fucking label on it, you know?
Yeah.
Like generic evil, like CGI monster. Oh, here's the sticker that says Venom. Now it's a generic CGI Venom, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when they take like toys and it's like a super soaker where you fucking slap a Star Wars label and now it's a Star Wars super soaker and it's fucking $10 more.
Yeah. That's exactly right. There isn't really anything else to talk about Spider-Man 3.
It's probably like the worst portrayal of Venom that he definitely did not deserve.
Yeah. I wonder why he got cast in there. Cuz he even not as somebody who reads the comic books, but even like watching that trailer for the first time, I was like, why the fuck did they get Eric Foreman to be Venom? Because I watched the cartoon and Venom was always way bigger than Spider-Man.
Right.
And he was always like, not really a jock, but he was like a very confident guy. And Topher Grace I never get that vibe from him.
Right. You know, it's interesting because Sam Raimi, the director for Spider-Man 3, he basically said that he got fucked with that movie because he was originally just had like a completely different way that it was going to go. And I think he was just going to have Sandman and Green Goblin, like the James Franco Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And basically Sony came back and were just like, okay, well, we actually need like a fuck ton more villains and you need to put Venom in this movie like today. So then he had to basically rewrite everything with having Eddie Brock and that. And I feel like that's most of the movie is that dumb bullshit that they focus on. And then it's just so that way at the end he rips the suit off and he becomes Venom. Because I'm pretty sure that I'm not 100% sure, but I'm almost positive that the black suit wasn't even supposed to be in the third one. Or if it was, him ripping it off was the end of the movie. And then there was going to be a Spider-Man 4, which was only Venom.
Okay. Yeah. It was kind of now that you say that, yeah, it does seem like kind of thrown together, especially with the Eddie Brock scenes where it's like, it's hard to feel sorry for the guy who lost his job because he cheated and his girlfriend broke up with him. Like any 21-year-old has had somebody break up with him and probably lost a job by then.
Right.
Like,
right.
Come on, dude. Get your shit together.
Yeah, like what makes him special from any other person that happened to him that Venom's just like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to get him.
Yeah. And why does he hate Spider-Man so much? Or why does he hate Peter Parker so much? It's like, you fucked up, bro. Like, you forged the picture. Right.
That seems like a more of a character motivation thing. But I mean, I agree. It's just kind of randomly misplaced.
So going on to the new Venom movie, what are your thoughts? Yeah, I know we haven't seen it yet, but what are your thoughts on what do you think? Like, how do you think it's going to go? How do you think do you think it's going to be any good?
I have no faith in Sony ever. If there's a way to fuck it up, they're going to find it.
Okay.
It's unfortunate but I also bring it to this. I like Tom Hardy, but it's really becoming hard to still like as a subtitle guy.
Oh,
it's
God.
really hard for me to support him in the theater when I can't understand what the fuck he's saying. And not only can I not understand what he's saying in human form, they basically were like, no, fuck you. We're going to make it even harder because when he becomes Venom, you're still not going to understand what he sounds like.
And he's going to have a thick Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, which is weird because he's supposed to be from fucking San Francisco and he's like, there's no... Can we please put a soundbite of this because it is the funniest moment of the trailer. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it's trailer 1. He's like in his apartment and like those fucking like SWAT guys come in and they're like freeze. And like the fucking Venom arm like pops out of his back. And his immediate reaction was like, I don't know.
You're not real. You were just in my head.
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
I don't know.
Maybe the trailer is cut together as a action movie, but the movie is actually a comedy. Like not a comedy, but like a
action
Thor Ragnarok type movie.
I mean, I'd be into that if it's like funny like that. But it looks different than what the Marvel movies look like. This one seems like grounded and real, which I think is why it will fail.
That's unfortunate because I read something a couple days ago where they interviewed a Sony executive specifically for the Venom movie, and he said that their Venom movie is also in the MCU universe, like
yeah, it doesn't make sense.
So that also means we're probably going to get Tom Holland at least in a cameo role in this. But that's why I'm not apprehensive about the movie as I was, knowing that Marvel had some sort of say in this. I just hope it doesn't fuck up the continuity, because it's already very watered down, the whole timeline of the MCU.
Yeah, although I don't know how much Marvel Studios has in this, because it does say Sony Pictures.
It does. It's not in conjunction with Marvel, but I know in reading that article that they had conversations about how the direction they wanted to take the movie, and maybe at some point we'll get like a crossover like we had with Spider-Man, where Venom. I think it'd be awesome to have Venom in
Spider-Man,
a new Avengers movie or something.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Like my number one is Blade, and then Venom.
Number 2 is Venom.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I'll just say this: the best case scenario for me is that Venom is in a bad Venom movie. So in other words, the character is salvageable for use in the MCU, but he's just in a very bad movie. Which is a Sony movie.
Yeah. And if it turns out to be bad, that might actually be a good thing in the end, because maybe Sony will abandon it and let Marvel take it.
If one could hope. I will say, one of the funniest moments of the second trailer was, did you see the second trailer where he's like talking to that one like cholo guy?
Yeah.
And he says, "I'll cut your arms off and eat them, and I'll eat your legs until you're nothing, a legless, like armless thing, like a turd in the wind." That's what he says, rolling around like a turd in the wind. How it should have ended actually made Venom trailer that I kind of want you to listen to, and audience as well, just because it's fucking hilarious.
We will eat both of your arms, then both of your legs, and we will eat your face right off your head. You will be this legless, armless, faceless thing, won't you? Rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
What?
Like a turd in the wind.
What does that even mean? Nobody says turd in the wind. Did you mean leaf in the wind?
No. You mean to tell us you have never seen a turd blowing in the wind?
No, that's not really a thing. I mean, maybe at the zoo, if the monkey throws his poop?
Yes, see, like that. You will be like monkey poop in the wind.
Nobody says that.
Okay, let's try something else. We will eat your arms and your legs, and no one will find your torso until the pigs freeze over.
You did it again.
What?
You messed up the saying.
No, we didn't.
Yes, you did. He did, didn't he?
You did. It is when pigs fly, or when hell freezes over.
We do not understand why you do not get our phrases. This is not rocket surgery.
Really?
Are you correcting us again? Do not beat a dead gift horse in the mouth.
Wow, I think maybe just stop talking. I would be much more terrified if you weren't talking.
Oh, no. You opened this can of worms. Now lie in it.
Please stop.
Curiosity killed the cake. And eat it too.
I'm done. Just kill me.
Okay, well, I don't know about you, Kevin, but I grew up on the Spider-Man TV show back in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
Which was among one of my most rewatched shows on Saturday morning.
Yep, that and X-Men.
Yep, agreed. I tried rewatching the series on YouTube, and the voice cast is honestly some of the most hilarious stuff you can listen to.
Oh, God.
And I every time I see it, I imagine how people would complain about miscasting, like, the people in it now.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if the show came out today, it'd be lunacy. For the most part, Venom in the show is pretty well adapted, like how he is in the comic. The Venom saga episodes are pretty much a rehash of all the comic book material in regards to his origins and hatred for Spider-Man, all that stuff. Eddie Brock also sounds like the most New York Tool ever, which I just found this out was voiced by Frank Azaria.
Really? Wow.
Yes. So Eddie Brock Venom was voiced by Apu from Simpsons and the guy. You've seen this movie, Birdcage.
Yeah.
What was his name
in Birdcage?
Yeah.
Fuck, I have no idea.
Agador. His name was Agador in the Birdcage. But it's funny because he's from San Francisco. I mean, just listen to this clip on how he fucking sounds.
Spider-Man. Everywhere I turn, he's in my way. He cost me my job, my reputation, my health, my apartment.
It's crazy how a cartoon for kids explains Spider-Man lore so well and had pretty good characters, because I feel like we'll never get that in the Sony movies. We'll never get that. For instance, in one episode, Venom basically takes over Eddie Brock, talks about how Peter Parker is missing out on all the knowledge it has seen since the dawn of time. And thousands of worlds it has seen, but at the end of the day, its one goal is survival by any means necessary. And this is just something we haven't got. And honestly, I feel like we still won't get with the Venom movie. It gives him a lot more depth, and he's just not like a big, giant, like burly bad guy.
Yeah.
He's like seen some shit, which clearly, I mean, with the history of the comics, he for sure has.
Oh yeah.
Listen to me, Brock. You've got... Stop calling us that! We are Venom now!
We wanted you, but you spurned us. Now we have big plans. You know nothing about us, but we know everything about you. You'll see us everywhere, even in your nightmares.
Brock, come back!
And we just being able to see how devious Venom was and still is, despite Eddie Brock's somewhat torn moral compass, it's just nice to see. There's just a specific episode, Alien Costume Part 3. That's what it's called.
That'd be a sick band name, by the way.
Alien Costume Part 3.
Yeah.
I actually like the quips that Eddie Brock has when he's fighting Spider-Man for the first time in the series. I'll say this. I like the Hank Azaria. I actually like it more that it's Hank Azaria, that I found out it's Hank Azaria. But none of it really compares to my favorite incarnation of Venom, which is his voice and overall being in the Spider-Man video game. Came out for PS1 2000. It's amazing. Venom sounds like this.
Can't fight him anymore!
Again, innocence falls prey to the evil of Spider-Man. Rest easy, Brock. Venom is here. And if it's the last thing we ever do, Jameson and the insect are gonna pay.
And he's absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember playing that game. I had like 3 games. I had Dave Mira's BMX, Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
I knew it.
And Spider-Man.
Fun fact, Neversoft, which is the one who made Tony Hawk, also made the Spider-Man game in 2000.
Oh, nice.
So it makes sense why you own both.
Probably. So I want to go over some of the characters that have been possessed by the Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
And I guess we could talk about them. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for you.
No. That's you probably got up to like the most recent stuff. So
okay. So actually there was somebody in comic book lore, I guess, that had the suit before Spider-Man did.
Oh, okay.
And this was only released recently, and it was Deadpool. Who knew?
Get the fuck out.
Yeah,
really.
it was Deadpool. Yeah, he apparently was also in the Space Wars, as I like to call them.
Secret Wars.
Yes.
Space Wars.
And he came in contact with the suit, or with the symbiote. And it's actually said that one of the reasons that the Venom character is so violent, or is so like unpredictable, is because it has part of Deadpool in it.
That's hilarious and awesome.
Yes. So eventually Deadpool rids himself of the symbiote because it really fucks with him. And he he has to get rid of it to basically survive. One of the main Venoms, other than Eddie Brock, is Mac Gargan.
Yeah.
AKA Scorpion. Yes. The symbiote was actually given to Scorpion by Norman Osborn. So
okay, sweet.
He was actually like super happy to get the suit because he wanted to fuck up Spider-Man.
Right.
Probably the next most famous person is Flash Thompson that has the suit.
Yeah, this is my favorite iteration. And honestly, I feel like they would do so well if they did a movie of the Flash Thompson one, because Venom Space Knight is basically Venom as a Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's fantastic because it's hilarious. It is really cool. He's awesome, and he's still like pretty super powered, but it's kind of more lighthearted. It isn't like so super dark.
Yeah,
which is interesting because they kind of pull it off because Venom is, you know, a dark character.
Yeah. So the story,
literally and figuratively.
The story is basically Flash Thompson is a soldier and he's wounded in battle and has his legs amputated.
Yes. Yep.
So the symbiote bonds to him, gives him legs and superpowers, and that's kind of the backstory of the Flash Thompson Venom.
Yeah.
And he does actually join the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy for some missions, not as like a permanent member, but like a side mission.
Yeah, I know for the Venom Space Knight issues, he wasn't with the Guardians of the Galaxy. He kind of was doing like his own thing, but it had like a Guardians vibe because he had his own like thing going on with like the symbiote, and he talks to it. He kind of developed that pretty strong bond like how Eddie Brock did. So it was kind of cool to see that, but in a more light-hearted sense, because Eddie Brock is pretty like, once he's got Venom, he's very much like brooding. Whereas Flash Thompson's just like, even though he's got no fucking legs, he's just like kind of a cool, funny character.
Yeah. Also, another person was Doc Ock, actually possessed by.
Oh shit! No way.
Venom. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because this is kind of out there, but Spider-Man and Doc Ock's brain switch. So
yes,
now Peter Parker is in Doc Ock's body and Doc Ock's in Spider-Man's. The Venom is called, Doc Ock calls it Superior Venom. So actually in that comic, Spider-Man does actually die because Doc Ock has cancer.
Yes.
And somehow he's brought back. Cryogenically
frozen. Cryogenically frozen.
Yeah.
They froze the cancer.
Yep. Another one, Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel.
Fuck. Damn, fucking Venom infected everybody.
Venom gets around. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is actually maybe one of the most powerful iterations of Venom is Carol Danvers.
Okay.
Yes.
Captain Marvel.
Because obviously she's one of the most strongest characters in the entire universe. Plus, add the Venom onto it. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that sounds awesome though.
Another one is pretty much every Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fuck.
Rocket, Drax, Star-Lord, Groot.
I guess the real question is, who does Venom not infect?
Well, that brings me to my last one.
Okay.
And if you guessed a Tyrannosaurus Rex, you were wrong, because he does possess a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
He's basically like fucking like Mario in Mario Odyssey. He just throws the hat on anything and he becomes it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you remember that lamppost? Yep. That's Venom now.
That's the new Venom.
All right, Kevin. So I guess the final question for you would be based on this. Who would be your number one Venom possessed character?
Do I have to pick somebody that's already been possessed?
No, you do not.
By Venom. Okay. I think a Venom possessed Hulk would be insanely powerful.
Ooh, that is a good
I would like to see that, or a Venom possessed Thor.
I was going to say Thor, but I'm going to throw a curveball here and say a Venom possessed Wolverine.
Ooh.
Because you know he's
That
got
is a
plenty
good
of
one.
anger and hate in him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, guys, let us know on our Twitter and Instagram who your choice would be for a Venom possessed hero. As always, thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Wicked Hot. And if you guys, like I said, want to give us a follow on social media, we are located on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Wicked Hot Talk. And as always, you can find us wherever podcasts can be found. This is another episode of Wicked Hot signing out. We will see you again in 2 weeks.
Bye, everybody.